everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Buonomo. Hi if you're new here, or hey if you've been here before. And today's video is going to be a You Choose My TBR. So this past year in 2022, I posted it a little bit later. I posted it in January, but I really wanted the concept of giving you guys 5 paired books and making you choose between one of them in order for me to get through some of the books that have been on my shelves for years. And without you guys picking them, I may not end up reading them. While I am still in the process of finishing those 5 books up and making a vlog on that, I wanted to jump ahead so that come January 1st, I can maybe start reading some of the next books that I'm going to do for 2023. So in this video, I am going to pair 10 books with each other, and they're going to have similar themes. So as I go through them, I'm going to tell you what the theme is and then give you a little description of both of the books. And then in the comments down below, you guys can tell me which book of the pairing you want me to read. So at the end of this, there should be 5 pairings, and you guys can pick 5 books for me to read. The book with the top votes here and on Instagram will be the books that will be in my 2023 TBR. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. The first 2 books I'm going to pair have the connection of both are steampunk, and they are Leviathan by Scott Westerfeld and The Dark Unwinding by Sharon Cameron. They both have very similar vibes, I feel like, on the cover. Starting with Leviathan by Scott Westerfeld. I picked this book up way back when because I really loved the Ugly series by Scott Westerfeld. And I was like, oh, maybe I should give something else by him a try, and never did. So this is a historical steampunk where there is a young boy named Prince Alexander who is like the would-be heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. Of course, World War I is on the precipice and the country is war-torn, and he doesn't actually know if he's going to inherit it. And then, of course, there is a young lady. Her name is Darren, and she is disguised as a boy and joins the militia. And when their paths cross, they kind of end up on a fantastical journey, or so the Goodreads description tells me. I feel like that pretty much sums it up. So this is going to be like a World War I steampunky drama, likely a love story because there's a boy and a girl main character, and it came out in 2009. This is actually way older than I thought it was. This is the first option, and this is going to compete with The Dark Unwinding by Sharon Cameron, which is a story following a young woman who is the heir to some kind of inheritance, and when her inheritance is being called into question because it's potentially being squandered by another relative, she ends up meeting some kind of inventor, and together they form a sort of community, and she kind of has to choose between earning her own inheritance and protecting it, or maybe protecting the community that she has now found. This also seems to be a bit of a mystery, and that's really all I know about this one. And these are the first 2 choices. Next on the pairing list, I have 2 books by the same author that I have been putting off for a very long time. The author is Melissa de la Cruz, and she wrote 2 of my favorite series that I've read, the Blue Blood series and the Witches of East End series. So I got other books of hers with the intention of continuing to read her other novels, and of course, again, kind of put them off to the back burner and lost interest. The first one is Frozen, and this is also co-written by Michael Johnston. I believe this is a futuristic book where you are in New Vegas and the entire city is now completely covered in ice. You are following a main character named Natasha who is looking to escape her ice prison in New Vegas. There's a land called the Blue that everybody wants to kind of escape from. It's supposed to be a paradise in this frozen landscape, and Natasha would like to travel to the Blue, but of course things are treacherous and dangerous along the way, so who knows if she's gonna make it. This is the first of a series. I believe there are 3 books total, and I don't know how good they are. This is going to be paired up with The Ring and the Crown by Melissa de la Cruz. Now this one I know was actually supposed to be a duology or a trilogy, and the series was dropped by the publisher. So it's a weird dynamic. I know that this is technically now written to be a standalone, but I have, I think, the original copy of it, which means that there was a reprinting where there was an additional like chapter or 2 added in so that it wraps up more neatly. Yeah, so I'm going to be reading this knowing that 1, it's going to feel incomplete, and 2, it's also wrapping up in some way. I think I could also get a version like on script or something where I have the ending if I want to do that too. So know that going in. But this one technically seems like it's going to be the more interesting choice. So this book follows 2 girls. One is the princess and heir to the throne, and the other girl is the bastard daughter of a mage, and it's set in England. It follows the 2 of them as they try to navigate their unlikely friendship and maybe like look down upon friendship, and how everybody pretty much doubts them as people. I'm sure that it has to do with the one girl like coming into her own magical powers and potentially the princess taking over the throne. Like that's what it sounds like it might be. So truthfully, out of the 2 of these, I think I would lean more towards reading this one, but I have this one and I am going to leave it up to you guys on whether or not you would like me to read one over the other. So here are your choices. The next 2 books that you guys can pick between have in common that I got them from the same book subscription box. The subscription box in question was Page Habit. They are no longer around. Page Habit, I did get 2 books out of that I never read still. And I know I got these books in 2017 and they're still on my shelves. The 2 books for this one is going to be A Plague of Giants by Kevin Hearn and Glass Towns by Stephen Seville. The reason I like Page Habit is because they would have the authors write little annotations in their books, and then they would get them like mass produced on these sticky notes, and it was just really cool. And this one got a little bit damaged. So this one I feel like is the easiest description. A Plague of Giants. You are following a mother and a warrior or soldier, I don't know. You're following a couple different people in this story. It is an adult high fantasy, and their city or town is being taken over and destroyed by giants. So they are responsible for trying to fight back or figure out how to survive in this whole landscape as everything is being destroyed. The reason that I never read this is because it is a thick boy. It is about 600 some pages, and for whatever reason I have commitment issues, but I do think this would be an interesting one to pick up, and I could maybe get some people to buddy read it with me as well. I do have my book club that we read exclusively sci-fi and fantasy, so this one might be a good one to pitch this coming year. On the other side of things, we have Glass Town. This also has some fantasy elements, but might also be a mystery thriller. Basically, this is set in 1924, I think, where there were 2 brothers who loved the same woman, and she disappeared after trying to film one of Alfred Hitchcock's most famous movies, and it moves forward in time. Generations have passed. One of their ancestors ends up entering the Glass Town, and this is supposed to be like where this woman, the actress that went missing, like he kind of becomes obsessed with this case and trying to solve it. So it's like mystery thriller, detective, magic. I don't know. It actually sounds pretty cool. I kept putting this off again. I don't know why. This doesn't have as many annotations as the other one, but it still would be fun to read. So truthfully, I feel like this pairing, I can't go wrong with either of them. And I probably would read both of them in the future, but I just need to get one of them off my shelf because 2017 is going to be 6 years ago when I finally get to these books. So we need to adjust this. My next 2 books that I'm pairing are indie authors or small press authors that have literally no attention, or like I've never heard anybody ever read them, and again they've been sitting on my shelf for a while and I feel like I should read it. 2 options for this one is Blue Tide by Jenna Lynn Duncan and King of Asphodels by Aveline Woods. We'll start with Blue Tide. So this is a young adult novel written by a author who was a small press debut. But anyway, this book follows a young 17-year-old woman who wants to like leave her island where she's always been. Her family was stranded there, and she really wants to get her life back, like the old life that she had. So she tries to win her freedom after she's taken hostage by a pirate. I'm assuming this is a love story. I don't want to assume that YA always has love in it, but most of them do. So I don't know if she ends up falling for her captor or like if it's her captor's son or something. Basically, this is a pirate love story, I'm pretty sure. So a captive woman pirate type of thing. It is young adult, like I said. I'm pairing this one with King of Asphodels because this is an indie author. I actually want a copy of this book, and then just let it sit on my shelf. This one isn't as old, but I do think it was pandemic that I wanted, so maybe 2020 when the world was crazy, because it was kind of like, oh, I want a book that's really nice. This one interests me because it has some Greek mythology in it. You're following the Lord of the Dead named Heracles, and he is in a contract with Nyx. So his contract kind of makes him a prisoner to this goddess, and he is doing so to be able to protect his sister, but also like he has a job to do because he is captive. Basically, like he has to go searching for answers for something that Nyx needs him to do. And he reveals his true identity to some woman and then has to kind of figure out if he needs to fix this problem or form a friendship with her. I think this is also maybe a love story, but I kind of like this cover, and she's a little thick, 400 some pages, but you guys can choose between these two, which are indie published, small press published books. And the last two for this video I paired because I met both of these authors in person and got personalized signed copies and then let them go for years without reading them. The first one is Scarlet Night by Megan J. Parker. So this book is a spicy love story. It's definitely an adult romance. I do think it does have some spice in it because it alludes to passion. But basically there are two characters, Zane and Serena. And Zane has like markings etched on him from things that have happened in his past. And when he becomes enraged or in pain, it turns him into a beast. And I don't know if this beast is metaphorical or actually happening. He's trying to almost accept that this beast is going to be a part of him when he meets Serena. And Serena is also kind of stuck in her past, and she has a dead lover who comes to her in the form of a spectral. So the two end up meeting, and maybe they can help each other recover from the past that haunts them. So this one's a quick book, but like I said, I met this author and her partner at the time. I don't know if they're still together, but they were at the time, and they were very lovely and very talkative, and I needed to buy from them because they were so nice. They signed it, they personalized it, and then I never read it. So this is probably 2017 or 2018 that I got this book, and I feel bad because it's not that big, but I read the partner's book and I really didn't like it very much, so I think that's why I've put off reading this one. On the flip side, I also have The Last Policeman by Ben Winters. This I had in 2012 that was signed by Ben Winters. And, you know, I was really picky in college about what I read. I was really into YA still, I was really into fantasy, and I really didn't read a ton of sci-fi detective novels in particular. Basically, The Last Policeman, there is one policeman that's like really just trying to do his job as the world is ending. There is an asteroid that has entered the atmosphere, and pretty much it's gonna wipe out Earth. And this is the only guy that tends to care about this, where everybody else has just been resigned to accepting their fate. And there are people that are still like being murdered out there. So he is kind of the only one that cares because everyone else is just like, we're gonna die, it doesn't matter, we could do whatever we want essentially. Like the world is literally going to be on fire. So he is trying to solve some murders before the end of the world. I really like the concept. I remember when Ben read this out loud, and it was really funny, and it was a really good time, and he was very articulate with how he presented himself. And that's why I was like, oh, I'm gonna go buy this book now. Lo and behold, we're here. We didn't read it. So I feel like, again, I'd maybe lean towards this one more, but this one's short and I think I could give it a go too. But you know, whatever you guys decide, you decide. And with that, those are the 5 book pairings that you guys can choose for me to read in 2023. I will have this poll open. You know, it's not going to be a real poll, but it's going to be open until December 31st. So if you guys want to comment which choices that I should be reading in the year 2023, you have until December 31st to do so. And at that point, I am going to end it and kind of pick which are the winners. So you have plenty of time to do so, hopefully. Go easy on me. I'm a little bit nervous because there's a lot of books that I feel like I will keep putting off until the rest of my life, or until I eventually just get rid of them because I'm like, I'm not going to read them. But I'm curious to see if any of these spark your interest and if you guys are going to torture me quite a lot. So anyway, thank you in advance for voting, and thank you for watching this video. I look forward to much more content in 2023, and I hope you guys do too. So until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.